This show is brought to you by Loud and Opinionated.
Welcome to the Loud Sports Podcast, and sports are back. Officially, sports are back.
Oh, we can't count baseball. That's not a sport.
It's back, you know.
Sorry, Brandon.
Technically, soccer and golf have been back, but
okay, we're not going to open up this can of worms of if golf is a sport with me, because you know I will vehemently disagree with you.
Golf is a sport. Let's go to Brandon Plecker.
Yeah, it's a sport.
Whatever.
Thank you.
It's not even really close.
Jake Williams, our anti-golf
Just because
expert here.
This is not a republic. We need some electoral votes in here before we can make a decision.
We're off the rails before I've introduced
2 to 1.
you guys.
I'm sorry.
We need
I'm
fair vote.
Okay, but soccer, come on, that's for Europeans. Okay, this is America.
I've been watching European and American soccer now. I'm excited to watch the other sports, though. Let's start with, did you guys watch any of the
I'm
first
Jake Williams, by the
baseball
way.
exhibitions?
That's Brandon.
No, I did not. I was out of town.
No?
That's
Jake?
No, I did not watch any. But
Caught a little Cubs Sox.
yeah, I mean, I saw
I saw some of the
glimpses. but
replays of the Yankees game because they were hitting
Yeah.
home runs. But
yeah, I did see glimpses of it, but I did hear about what we're about to talk about with the Nats, which is hilarious. But
Yeah, a baseball.
sorry, I
just
derailed the show.
Such a baseball-style gaffe, you know, where it is just they have to mess up in the most, like, old-school, rusty way. You know, this it's not quite sex dolls in the stands, but the Nationals accidentally...
What a pause. It's not quite sex dolls.
The Nationals accidentally play crowd cheering music after
they
a
were-
Philly home run.
they were excited. Just baseball. They were excited.
Excited for baseball.
Yeah,
Hey,
didn't care.
yeah, but it's called sportsmanship, Paul. You ever heard of it?
Speaking of the Nationals, Dr. Fauci is going to be throwing out their first pitch of their first real game coming up.
Oh,
Opening game of the season, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, let's see how he does. We're going to have to
hopefully it's
compare
not
it to
like
other
50 Cent.
people's. No.
Man, that was bad.
No, he'll be better than that. Fauci's a baller.
Well,
question is, will he be wearing a face mask when he throws it?
Yes, he will.
Did he say that?
No, but I believe he will.
Yeah, you got
I
to. You got to
need-
drive home the point.
Need to find that prop. Thank you for reminding me. So in other baseball news, the Mets have put the Ford logo on the pitching mound. So we have our first on playing field advertising. You know, it's been on the walls,
Yeah.
but we have it on the surface of a game field. So this is like the NBA putting a little logo on their jersey. It is the first step in the process of new levels of advertising here. And we're seeing this, you know, all sports are going to take advantage of Corona in different ways, and here we see baseball finding a way to make new money.
I'm surprised that this hasn't happened before, because it's such a common thing. Because you see it on basketball courts, but you know, when a football field is sponsored, they have the logo. Some of them do, some of them don't.
Right, but it's usually just like the name of the field or the name of the stadium.
Yeah, and it's all like on the 25-yard line or something.
Mhm.
Like Gillette State, is it Gillette Stadium that has the weird logo for the Patriots?
Yeah. It's like the court, you know, the logo of the court title in the NBA.
Which because you see like Oracle, or I remember that one vividly. I remember seeing that one, but I am surprised that it hasn't happened before. Really, in baseball.
Is it in the front or the back side of the mound?
You
Have you seen it?
Didn't watch the Mets game.
Yeah, I'm wondering where you'd even see this logo.
I think it would
That's
have
kinda
to
where
be,
I'm at.
Yeah,
I
because you
think
have
it
to have a top-down look to really get a.
I think it might be just
I
going
guess
from
you
a
do see the
production
back of the
standpoint,
mound.
the back of the mound.
I guess you do see the back
if
mound
you
every
show
pitch,
the
don't you?
pitches
Yeah.
the right way.
Never
yeah.
mind. That
Put it
one
on the
works
back
pretty
of the
You
well.
gotta have it like angled on the mound so the camera can catch it if it's behind the
Right. Usually
pitcher.
the camera angle's about over the right shoulder of the pitcher, so you would be able to see. I guess you would be able to see the back of the mound pretty well the whole game.
The big news of the day, though, Toronto has denied the Blue Jays, and so they're looking at other places to be playing their home games for the season.
Yeah, and this had been speculated about for months when they were talking about the MLB restarting and that. So, yeah, Canada was big on like, hey, we don't think you should be traveling to America and doing all this stuff. I don't know Canada's situation with cases and how they're handling that, but this is a little surprising, to be honest. I thought they would make an exception to Toronto because I don't know how much money they bring in for them.
It is right on the border, It's not like it's Quebec.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much America, but not because it's still Canada.
But so the options here are their AAA affiliate is in Buffalo.
Yeah, that when I saw this that this had happened, I thought Buffalo immediately as
regionally pretty close.
Right next, it's like right next door, isn't
right,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
aren't they on the border? Like,
yep,
they share Niagara Falls.
They're across the falls. Yeah. But was it probably a lot of Yankees fans once you get into New York State?
Well, I don't know, I guess, but the thing, Buffalo would not be the big stadium, which not that it would matter in terms of fans, obviously, but just are the dimensions the same? Are they going to be playing on a smaller field to where it would be an advantage? It could be seen as an advantage. I don't know. I don't know what Buffalo's minor league field looks like, but I have seen them looking at actual professional fields to share with a team. But
to share with another baseball team.
I saw some that they were looking at maybe Pittsburgh to share with the Pirates, which I don't know how well that would work, having two teams share a home field while you're trying to stay away from each other.
60 games in 70 days. And, that would be really tough logistically. The other it's more of a pipe dream, but a lot of people on Twitter were hoping for Omaha. The College World Series is a great facility. They lost that revenue.
TD Ameritrade, huh?
Right.
Pretty far away, though.
Yeah, and that's where it really goes downhill for me for that argument, because if you're really making it about travel and safety and minimizing, your travel, I saw somebody say put them in Omaha and switch their schedule with the Cleveland Indians. Well, you're really bending
that
stuff
seems
here.
way
really
too
changing
much.
a lot.
That's a stretch.
Yeah, so I see this. I mean, whoop-de-doo. We're probably not going to have fans throughout the entire baseball season, realistically.
Probably any sports,
So
really.
why not be in Buffalo?
As long as the field is comparable, then I don't see a problem playing in the tiny stadium compared to a big major league.
You get Buffalo Blue Jays, man. That's more alliteration, in my opinion.
The Buffalo Blues.
Buffalo Blue Jays.
Toronto, man.
No. You play in Buffalo.
Just change the name.
You play in Buffalo.
For this season, new merch.
There you go. You know what? We'll make our own merch. Buffalo Blue Jays on the merch store.
They will have those bootlegged outside the stadium.
Yeah, so will we.
Somewhere.
We'll sell them.
Yeah, to one person.
To me.
In Iowa. It would be you, Jake. I'd buy this.
I'd slap a Buffalo Blue Jays sticker on my laptop.
To something else more local, we have today Hawkeye Nation and CBS Sports released reports that from a Freedom of Information Act request.
That's crazy that they
That means, number one, it was not being made public or readily available. If you have to use the government to procure something from your public university. And this states that in 2018, Kirk was aware of racial inequalities relating to unequal punishments and disciplinary treatments as early as summer before 2 seasons ago.
And that's the crazy thing about this. You only see these issued for like political documents and government documents. You usually don't see people requesting this for something relating to a sports team.
Right.
And that makes me wonder, because they haven't said who requested it, right? It's been pretty anonymous with who actually requested the information.
I thought it was somebody from Hawkeye Nation. Hawkeye Nation tried to get the information.
It could be that, but to me it also thinks could it be some former players that were trying to say, hey, we're not making this up. We're trying
There was an investigation.
Yes,
I was interviewed about this.
Right.
That could be a possibility.
Yeah, because I could definitely see that, because we live in an age where there's a lot of accusations without evidence, and because that's happened and diluted it so much that you might have somebody being like, no, we're legitimate here. This really happened. So that makes me wonder. But this is crazy, man.
It's really unfortunate, because it really makes you think about what they did this year within the program and the changes this summer, and should this have been done earlier? And to your point, Jake, you're saying that we don't know where this ball started, but it could be, as a journalist, I'm immediately trying to reach out to any Hawkeye who posted something publicly about this.
Absolutely.
And if two of them would say, yeah, there was an investigation that the athletic department did, and I know that they interviewed some players and tried to figure out something, and then we never heard anything. That it could have started that way with just a little whisper from a former player.
That I would assume that something like that is probably how it got started. Is that Hawkeye Nation, just talking to people like it's their job, like their job is, heard about it and want to see if it was true, because that's their job,
right?
And this obviously came out helping to, I guess, solidify the accusations and make them basically 100% accurate.
This makes me really question if Brian Ferentz is going to be on the team for much longer.
Yeah. I
do we think that's the main person in this whole? Is that what you're?
Well, the main
what you're
person.
getting at?
Honestly, the main person isn't Kirk, but it is.
Yeah.
Because in a football program, the buck stops here with the coach. You know what I mean? Like, it is an extreme example.
You should know everything.
Yeah, but at Penn State, it wasn't the coach that was harassing the kids. But when you are even slightly knowledgeable of a situation, you are either you either do something about it,
or you're complicit,
or you're complicit, or you're Rick Pitino.
Even more recent, Urban Meyer. That's why he's out of Ohio State,
right?
Yeah,
for basically the same thing,
right?
And I was thinking the exact same thing today when this was coming out, and I was thinking to myself, they're not comparable. It's not the same thing in any way, and I'm not trying to say they are, and you aren't either. But it really does remind me of Joe Paterno and that situation. And again, I'm not really comparing them, but I'm saying it should be. You cannot tell me that you are a head coach of a Power 5 school with a lot of history and tradition like Iowa has, and you don't know everything that's going on in your locker room and with your coaches. Now, yes, sure, things could slip through the cracks, but something like this, I feel like Ferentz would know and should know. Well, especially when it's your son is one of the problems.
That's the allegation here, is that he was presented with these report findings.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have James Daniels, the Bears offensive lineman, who met with Gary Barta in the spring of 2019 and was told changes were being made within the program. That's what Daniels says. But it does point to, players and the administration knew about this investigation from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I just and that's the thing. You were bringing up Brian Ferentz, and I was going to ask you guys about that too. Was what happens from here? Because I don't know. I don't think they'll get rid of Ferentz personally. Either. Well, I can see them getting rid of Brian Ferentz, but I don't know if they get rid of Kirk Ferentz, because the heir apparent was supposed to be Brian.
Yeah,
and that's definitely not going to happen now. But if more comes out and saying that Kirk was complicit and didn't do anything about this, shouldn't he be fired?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to think of a scandal of this magnitude where the coach is still there afterwards in college football.
Yeah, I don't see either of the Ferentzes being there.
You think of even Art Briles at Baylor, and while this is smaller than that allegation,
right. They're not comparable.
He's gone. You get Pete Carroll was gone. A lot of for different reasons in different situations. I can't think of a scandal of the size of racial allegations like this where the coach was still there afterwards. And I think that would, no matter how we see it here nationally, that would be a very bad look.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I tend to think that the end is sooner than we probably all thought for Kirk.
And it's what a sad way to go. Oh, my gosh.
And it's horrible.
Because that's going to be a big
but
blemish
it's the
on
end
him.
of the Fry dynasty when he goes, and if it's not Brian, right? That is the end of what built this Hawkeye football.
Right.
And, and that's the thing, too, is Ferentz that's going to just put a giant black eye on an amazing career. And, I mean, if that's the case, that could be unfortunate for him. But think about those players that had to go through this. I mean, you look through the things, they're saying that they were tested more for drugs and they were punished, more harsh than, say, a white player. and things
assigned
like
more volunteer hours.
assign more of that, and then it goes back to the Akram Wadley thing. Whether you believe him or not, just that's, for argument's sake, say what he said was true. You have a star running back, and your offensive coordinator is saying, "Did you rob a gas station to get that?" I can't remember exactly what the scenario was, but Ferentz said something to that level, and to think that that you're treated that way, and you do so much for that school, it's sad. It really is, and I really don't know what to make of this. I want to know what you think, Brandon, as a Hawkeye fan. All of this stuff, what is going through your head as a fan?
I mean, just that it's probably almost over. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I don't see. I mean, I think we've all kind of can agree that Barta probably should have been gone 3 years ago.
Barta's a
And he's
whole
still
different
there.
conversation.
But that's kind of where this whole thing probably starts, if we're being honest. If he's the head, he's the guy in charge of everything. He had this information even more readily than Kirk probably did.
Right.
Like, he's probably, they're both to blame, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's even more for Barta.
Barta has a history of inaction
Right.
until the snowball's too big.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely hear what you're saying, where would we have known about this 2 years ago if there was a different athletic director in Iowa City? It maybe was a little more of a firm hand, because I don't know if Barta feels like he's really Kirk's boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, the fan base would put Barta's head on a spike over Kirk before this summer.
I mean, they showed the scandal with Gary Dolphin. They put him above Barta too. Barta has no respect, I think, in any aspect. And yeah, this is just a crazy experience. But then, so say you get rid of Ferentz, do you completely clean house and start over and get a whole new coaching
you just
staff?
got rid of your strength and conditioning coach.
why
you're going
not?
to have to get rid of your OC. But
Do you think he was the real reason, though? Do you think he was the head of the snake, or do you think it was Brian Ferentz? Because we'd kind of not address that.
This seems like kind of like a rising Brian culture, of how he ran things.
Yeah,
You don't hear anybody from 10 years ago saying this.
Right.
Nobody has corroborated this, of like the Bob Sanders years or anything like that. It is all once Brian is an authoritarian piece of the offense.
right. Most of these people that have been coming forward are from definitely last 10 years,
Last 6 to 8.
Yeah, and I would say
Yeah.
even sooner than that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's a definite aspect here. But then it comes back to, again, even more than you're the head coach, you're the father, and that's a really bad aspect of this.
Right.
If we are going to blame Brian, So I think, but the start for a new coach, it has to be somebody. It can't be about finding a winning coach. It has to be about finding a different type of culture coach. At this point, you need to scrub it. And you need to bring somebody in.
And it's probably, going to be a transition guy.
Yeah, you need to bring in a guy with a reputation as a player's coach, a listener,
Get Jim Grobe. Because Jim Grobe,
Urban Meyer.
Lane Kiffin.
Well, no, Jim Grobe was the guy who took over for Baylor before they got Matt Rule after all the stuff with Art Briles. They brought him in to be the nice guy that would clean things up. So I was like, well, just do it again, but do it for Iowa. That's just Jim Grobe's position.
Kiffin just got the what job?
But did he go?
He did just go to Tennessee or something.
He went to
or-
SEC.
Because
we got leached to Mississippi State.
Right.
Which
And-
what a bizarre turn of events.
Right, that's right.
But
forgot about that.
I feel like honestly Kiffin would have been a really good fit if you're gonna get rid of Kirk. But
Well,
he
is-
just
is-
took a job.
Is Brett Bielema still around? I mean, that guy wanted to go to Iowa.
Oh, calm down there.
yeah.
I don't think you want him anymore.
Brett Bielema?
There's a lot of baggage that comes in.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no motorcycles.
What's get Brian Alvarez down there. I don't know. He seems like a nice guy. He's
it's
filled
like-
in coaching a few times in his when he's been the athletic director.
Before we move on to the NFL talk, I want to go to what Brandon said earlier. You're being a really mature Iowa fan, and I was cringing at a lot of immature Iowa fans on Twitter about this report. People saying, two comments that stuck out to me, one on Twitter and one on Facebook. One on Twitter said, "Sounds like the armed forces making players have the same haircut, or making people have the same haircut, or the Yankees making players shave. Hashtag go Hawks. Hashtag be better. And then on Facebook, it was, you mean inequalities, like more scholarships to black players than white players? And what's wrong with teaching young kids manners?
Oh, jeez.
And it just makes me cringe because if you're saying that, you're acknowledging that there are inequalities, and you're saying you assume that some people need more manners training. There's just so many levels to the deflections and denials I've seen that really make
it's a
it look
very
bad.
ignorant thing to say, especially that second one. Just like, you don't know these people at all. You don't know where they came from. You don't know either side.
So so should we Title IX our team scholarships based on race? You know what I mean? Do we have to make it equal? Like,
Yeah.
is that
Right,
your
like-
argument here?
Yeah,
that doesn't-
that's
that
ridiculous. Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Because I bet those are the same people that say no participation trophies. So if this is a meritocracy, there might be not the same amount of people of the same color on your team.
Yeah, yeah. Then you have
That's
to
called competition.
Yeah, then you'd have to accept that. Yeah, then that's ridiculous.
It-
Then that would be like the NFL saying that we could only hire this many black players because that's ridiculous. That is.
The closest thing to it, a lot of European and international basketball leagues have rules where you can only have 2 Americans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
two
to boil
people that played American college ball.
then do those people realize by boiling it down to race that makes it even more racist, because then you're saying you have to. It's a diversity hire. It's not really a merit thing like you were
Right.
talking about. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so we will find out what happens here in the next week or two, or more, depending on Barta.
Do you think NCAA gets involved?
No.
Violations?
Oh, Lord, no. The NCAA has so many bigger things to worry about. This is like,
You're telling me they wouldn't punish them?
this is not profit, financial, or recruiting
This
related.
doesn't really have anything to do with the NCAA.
It's off their radar
Yeah.
right now. They are worried about these
So then
conferences.
Iowa has to punish themselves, kind
The
of.
conferences are basically seceding. The Power Five
Yeah.
are
I
basically
see that the
seceding.
NCAA has no
There's-
power over
the
anything.
NCAA's offices are on fire that they realize they're crumbling.
We'll talk about the
top
NCAA
college
some more.
the top college basketball players are going to the G League. The Power 5 conferences are doing their own thing. There's
Yeah, we'll
Chill
talk
out,
about
Jake.
the NCAA some more.
all right to the NFL talk from Hawkeyes. We're still waiting on Washington name change. This is episode 2 of Name Watch.
I think we're missing the whole thing that came out of Washington.
The WAPO.
The bigger, yeah,
The WAPO report.
the 14 women that came out and said they were sexually abused, and only one of them actually came forward publicly. But man, you seriously, when you think that this organization can't get worse and can't treat people worse than they already have, that report comes out.
Yeah, you're right. And I did see that it said Dan Snyder knew but was not a part of any of the allegations.
Sounds like, wasn't it like a lot of like scouts or something? I think what sounded like where the most of the problems seem to be
Scouts
coming
and
from
training.
scouting department, and maybe it said a couple of whatever inner circle means, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that could mean. But it's
Pretty broad statement, but
I think this is horrible and this needs to come out, but it also makes me wonder, is it dogpiling on Washington? Because I'm not convinced this is an isolated incident in NFL organizations.
Can I give you your tinfoil hat for a 2nd?
Mhm.
Who owns the Washington Post?
Bezos?
Who has been,
I was thinking this too. Bezos is going to try to weasel
who
his
has
way
been
in.
publicly interested in buying an NFL franchise?
Yeah.
Bezos, who can do it on his own without
Yeah.
any help on a check.
Yes.
Bezos. And so this is him dumping on Washington. We see that the minority owners want to sell. There's pressure. I bet there is, like, let's talk about inner circles. There is
Yeah.
pressure between billionaires here, I think.
And I don't want to
that
minimize.
Bezos is trying to swoop in here on a vulture sale
Yeah.
after he just crushes them.
And I don't want to minimize what happened to those women, because what happened to those women is horrible and
Absolutely.
should not happen to any woman. But I do feel like it seems like that the timing of how it came out, it does seem like it's like, well, there's the name change. There's a thing about Bezos, and there's all these other things coming out.
They
with
might have had
Dan
this in
Snyder.
the can.
Right.
And
And
been
then-
holding it for wait until they get
Yes.
pressure on the name or something really
Yes.
bad comes out. oh wait, they were not letting a player get cancer treatment.
But
hold it. Hold it.
Not yet.
Not yet, almost.
We're also forgetting that, 30 of the owners in the NFL are old white dudes?
Mm-hmm. And then there's
the
the Packers
female and
that
then,
have no owners. There's the Saints female owner.
Okay, so 29.
I think the Giants.
Tony Khan. Not Tony Khan.
Shad
Jaguars.
Khan.
Shad Khan.
Khan.
Tony
Shad
Khan's
Khan,
the son.
And I think the Giants is now an old woman.
But that's my point, is all these old white dudes, I would
Bears
not
is a
be
woman.
surprised if that this is not an isolated incident in the NFL where there's other teams where these men treat these women horribly. I would not be surprised by that.
Well, it's the misogyny and assumption of you know more about the sports industry just because you're born a man.
Yeah, exactly. And no woman should have to go what they went through to get a job in sports. That I don't want to downplay that, but I just think the timing of all of this is very interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But, yeah, when are we going to name? Come on, Washington. Madden said they're going to change it, by the way. If Madden says it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Madden didn't say they're going to change it. They just took off
Yeah,
the old logo. So they're
Yeah.
just probably
They should
just that
take off-
gray
They should take
shield
off
looking
Washington.
thing.
They should just take off Washington until they decide what it is. Like you can't.
So
use
now you're
them.
punishing the players
You,
for something that's not their fault.
no, you take the
No,
team off of Madden.
Yeah, no, the players
But then you'd be punishing the players because then their likeness is no longer on the game.
No,
Oh, but
it
they're-
is.
I
but
don't
you
think
have
they're
to
directly paid off of the. Like that's still a group thing.
I don't know how that works. Because I know that's why there's no college football games. Is because
Right, but the college would be based on the individual, but the NFL has the NFLPA, and so it's a lump sum that comes
no,
for players
Brandon.
like
Here's
this.
what you do: you have some fun with it, and it's there. They exist. The players are still there. The players still get paid, but you make the team. You make the new Washington name because clearly
when you start
need,
franchise
Yeah,
mode,
I was
one
gonna,
of
I was
the-
gonna say career mode is
yeah,
now
one of the options.
you're
like,
the 32nd NFL team.
Yeah, that would be cool.
on the page after where you decide how long the quarters are.
Because
There's a page, and now you can pick what franchise is in Washington before you start your new franchise with Minnesota.
Because
You gotta check. You gotta do this first. You know, it's just
because clearly you
something
could
to go
probably
through.
do a better job at this than the management at the Redskins could. So yeah, just come up with I get it that there's a lot to go into that with branding and getting a designer in there and figuring out what it is, but you are an NFL team, and I know you've been through a lot because you're not the best best run team ever. But how hard can it be to get a graphic designer in there and design you a logo?
Well, there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
yeah.
Not
You
just-
got to get around.
there's a
that
lot of hoops.
Virginia real estate guy that bought all your trademarks.
Right. There's a lot of legal stuff that has to come into.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I wouldn't know all of them, but I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that a lot more stuff than just
Licensing,
picking a
merch.
name.
Can we make a recurring segment? When when are we still waiting on that? Like have
Yeah,
elevator music.
Name Watch episode
Name
2.
watch.
Episode 2 of Name Watch.
This is like episode 4.
running tally. Probably get up to about 10.
They're gonna wait, till like the last possible. Like we're getting right into preseason before they're like, wait, we got a name.
Well, there's no preseason now, or
That's-
they're talking
that's
about no
true.
preseason, so it'll probably be
Yes, next on the list.
on Thursday night football to open the season. Washington comes out with their new name.
Next on the list, we have the NFL offered the NFLPA as of tonight's recording no preseason games, which would be interesting. I
Daily
didn't think they
testing.
would give that up. I really didn't think they would give that up because of the TV, just getting games on TV.
Yeah, and then
Well, the NFL the owners already don't want to play preseason. They want to do more regular season games.
because most of the time preseason games are super regional and they're on. Yeah, unless you have
You can get all of the Packers and Chiefs preseason games on the CW.
I was gonna say, I found one time. I got
That's
one
new. I
Packers
didn't know.
game
Yeah.
randomly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unless you have NFL Network where you can get all of them like that, you're very limited anyway. So I'm not super surprised. I do feel bad for those guys trying to make the roster that possibly could make the roster because of preseason. I mean,
People that just aren't getting the snaps.
yeah, just not getting the reps, and this is really their chance to do it. It does hurt them.
Let's all
but-
be honest with ourselves here, and if there was no preseason but just the Hall of Fame game, we would all watch all of the Hall of Fame game. Like that's where we are. With
Yeah,
sports
well,
right now. I would watch.
I
all
would
of it.
I would agree.
Depends on who's playing.
I would agree to that given normal circumstances, even if there wasn't a pandemic.
Yeah, I always watch all the
yeah.
Hall of Fame games. It's usually on NBC. You get your Al and Chris fix. Oh, I need those guys back in my life.
Oh my gosh, they're the worst. They're the worst of the three. Come on, we all know it's Joe and Troy. That is the tier.
We can't do this today. We can't do this today. We have.
When are we ever
going to
do a 3 for 3 again? Because I'll gladly fight you in that.
Over the weekend, we had players seemingly coordinate tweets with the hashtag "We Want to Play." Specifically, the most impactful ones came from Russell Wilson saying, "We want to play." You know, my wife is pregnant. I'm worried about safety. And then J.J. Watt, whose was important because his training camp starts a week early because the Texans were going to be in the Hall of Fame game or the regular season opener.
Chiefs and
they're playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think it is the Houston.
Yeah, okay,
actually.
so they get to open a week early, and he says, "Hey, I haven't heard anything about what we're going to be doing, and I got to be there next week."
Right.
You know, so it was very interesting. And then the next day, we have the NFL offer no preseason games, so it seems like they might have listened to him.
And daily testing is one thing that they offered as well. Out of that,
it's incredible that we spent how many times did we come on this show and berate the MLB for not having a plan and mock the MLB for not having a plan. And now we see the NFL do something similar. Now, I don't think it's as bad as the MLB yet.
The NFL has procrastinated so
but this is ridiculous. We are,
August 1st seemed so far away for so long, and now it is here.
In a normal situation, training camp would start next week, and we would start getting ready for the season. And to think that they have taken this long to be like, well, we should probably talk about safety protocols.
But Sean McVay says he's skeptical that training camp start on time. Just at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how this would work. And you don't with former players maybe it's not as hard. These guys are athletes. They're professional athletes. They're going to be in shape. But what about the rookies that have to learn a whole new playbook?
Yeah, right? But I think that this is better for them because
gives them more time.
They're already learning the playbook. Like they got nothing better to do.
Yeah, but you can only.
You would hope.
You're right that they're not getting actual like action,
yeah.
but the hardest part is knowing what the hell everybody else is going to do.
Knowing your
that's the hardest part, I'd say. And then because you're already physically capable to make the throw or run the route or do whatever you're asked to do, so you just got to know what the hell everybody else is doing.
Yeah,
and I think that might be more beneficial, being able to sit at home and. Got nothing better to do because you can't go anywhere.
You hope so, but there are people like Jamarcus Russell who you
I
can give a blank
that.
tape to, and he comes home and he says, "Bro, I watched it 3 times. I'm ready to go." You know.
No, I understand that there are those people, but most of them are not.
Didn't he say he also learned it through Madden? Some players said
no.
They learned
That
it.
was XFL Wildcats quarterback.
Oh yeah,
when
Josh
he
Johnson.
when he was signed by the Redskins or the Lions, I think it was one of those two teams. He said he learned
Washington Football Club.
Oh, the Washington Football Club or the Lions.
#WFC.
He played Madden for like the next week to learn the players that were on his team.
The players.
His teammates.
It baffles me that both the major like football organizations, NCAA and the NFL, are just so incompetent at this, and it's ridiculous. So maybe I was wrong to just dogpile on the MLB. Maybe, yeah. I mean, they were progressive about the draft. They got that taken care of because that's easy. You could just do it all through Zoom. But the fact that they were this late in July and they have no idea what they're doing is just astounding.
It really is. So we have the Giants and the Jets announcing no fans until further notice. Philadelphia has already did this.
Yeah, Philly said no, nothing, no parades, no sports,
nothing. That's very convenient. It seems like, they would look for a reason to keep people off the streets from sporting events there. And the flagpoles.
Yeah, especially.
And the light poles.
Especially in Philly.
And the cars.
We should, and New York.
Punching police horses.
We should talk about Buffalo because Bills Mafia, they're going to be crazy too.
I loved how ESPN squeezed in Rutgers with the Jets and the Giants as not having fans this season. That was pretty funny.
Right, as if there were ever fans.
There's always it's always a packed house there.
Yeah. Who tries to shoehorn Rutgers as the New York City team more, the Big Ten or ESPN?
Yeah, Big Ten. Yeah, they were a valuable thing. It's not like
I added all
we
those
didn't want that
TV
East
markets.
Coast market. I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you guys see this video? Patrick Mahomes is working on a behind the back pass.
Stop.
I did.
Scary
Wasn't it
stuff.
left-handed?
Yeah, it was like that
For-
video of the bear with nunchucks. You know, just the evolution that is so beyond your level. It scares you.
Come on, Pat. Just throw the ball. We get it. You're talented. We get it. You're one of the best, of this generation. But just throw the ball. You don't need to throw behind your back. When is that ever going to come up in a game? Honestly,
You
That
wouldn't
no
think you'd
look.
throw it left-handed, and he threw it left-handed in a game.
that's different.
You never know.
That no look was clean.
But behind
when he
your
hit it,
back,
though.
come on.
You
now.
never know.
Also, by the way, nobody talks about the no look where he completely whiffed the first game of the season.
Yeah, and went over his head in the end zone. It was
Yeah.
an easy touchdown.
Well,
I know
yeah,
that one.
Nobody,
I know.
nobody remembers that.
But I think behind the back could come in handy if you really just like you turn and you got a defensive end bearing down on you. You just flick that thing, you know?
Getting chased down the right sideline, about to go out of bounds.
Yeah.
Flip it back to Damian Williams, touchdown.
Playoff Damien.
Yeah.
That's his
You never
nickname.
know.
That's going to happen.
It'll
It's
probably
gonna turn
happen in the
into
Super
It's
Bowl.
going to be a pick six in the Super Bowl, and that's how the Chiefs
No,
lose.
he's going to use that behind the back pass in a crucial moment at some point late this season, and it's going to lead for a week on every
Yeah,
network.
could you believe it? It's going to be another one of like 3 touchdown comebacks, and that's going to be the play that turned the tide.
Yeah, ESPN is it NFL Network?
Turning point. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes behind the back pass, the turning point of the year.
Who is in charge of that show? How do you make like was it half hour?
That
or
sounds
an
like a
hour?
Michael Irvin thing,
Yeah.
or Rich Eisen. All right, let's get to some segments here. Fraud. I would like to fraud Toronto as an American sports city.
Oh, here we go.
They should never, ever, ever be given thought for NFL relocation or expansion ever again, because they won't make it work with the major league here to get sports back.
You're really coming at them for being cautious about COVID?
For not letting the Blue Jays bring all these other teams to Toronto. Yes. They're not an American sports city.
Vancouver, is that your Canadian choice? If
They're
you have to
not-
go to Canada?
They are not an American sports city.
What about the Raptors?
Yeah, they're making it work. The Raptors, they
Do they still get to be an American sports city?
the Raptors are playing in America only, which they're gonna have to do. If the NBA had travel, Toronto would have done the same thing to the Raptors, and they would be playing at Wells Fargo.
All right.
Toronto, not an American sports city.
Well, they're not anyway. They're Canadian.
Don't even think about them for an NFL team. Fraud.
So then Vancouver.
Fraud. For an NFL team, you know what? I think it would be fun to have one way further north and have it be like the Buffalo Bills, but like Canada's team. Like you put it in Winnipeg.
Right.
Put it in the middle of nowhere.
No. You move.
Edmonton or Winnipeg. Yeah. No, Edmonton is honestly like the Wild West city of Canada.
You know they're changing the name, the CFL team, because they're named the Eskimos, and it's
Yes, they are.
It's problematic. Now
It is, and they are.
because everything's problematic
So
now.
that is their version of the Redskins fiasco. Is the Eskimos.
Hey, I'm just saying, Vancouver. You take the Cardinals, you move them to Vancouver, and then you have them still in the NFC West.
What's wrong with Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix is like the 5th largest metro in America.
Yeah, but nobody cares about the Cardinals. I don't even think people in Arizona care about the Cardinals.
They would care even less in Vancouver. Ask the Grizzlies. Fraud.
Fraud,
Jake.
Toronto. Let's just fraud Canada.
Whoa.
Fraud to Toronto.
That's a heavy fraud.
What has Canada done for us?
Maple syrup.
In wrestlers, that's about it. The Hart family. My fraud. This was taken by Brandon last week, but this show we all know that just because you're a fraud one week doesn't mean you can't be the fraud next week for someone else. And we had the MLB in this situation multiple times. I'm gonna go with the NCAA again. They are a fraud because in very similar fashion to the NFL, they have proceeded to do nothing for college football. And as you were saying
Wow.
earlier, Paul, they have allowed the Power 5 conferences to secede from the union. They've allowed them to do conference-only play, which, as far as we know, there's only 3 teams that we know of, or 3 conferences, right? SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12.
As of now.
As of now, I can very easily see the Big 12 and ACC being next. Because, the Big 12 already does a round robin in the season anyway, so it just makes sense. But for them to finally release a statement, and you want to hear how generic and dumb this statement is? Well, if we don't get a hold on this whole thing, we might not have sports at all in the fall. Really? As if we didn't know that, NCAA. Of course we knew that. What you could have said was, hey, here's the guidelines that we recommend that these conferences do, or, I don't know, anything other than, well, if we don't get a handle on it, there's no sports. Like, that's it? That's the best you can do, NCAA? Fraud. Woo!
Fraud. Brandon.
I mean, we already kind of frauded them last week.
Yeah, I did it NCAA, so.
But for the same thing. But let's just talk about the fact that TJ Watt is an 86 overall on Madden and how absolutely ridiculous that is.
Should be like an 88.
The guy is
90.
The guy
92.
got third place in the Defensive Player of the Year for the entire league last year. And I think I've said this a couple times. He's my front runner to win Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Oh, okay.
And this guy is what? Maybe in the top 30 of defensive players on this video game. Like, do these guys, these scouts, so-called scouts, actually pay attention?
David is rated higher than he is.
Exactly.
I feel like they're just trying to troll us now and get some clicks, because I'm going to lead this right into you hate to see it. I have, Gronk is a 95, and our reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson, who played last season, unlike Gronk, is a 94.
Right. Gronk is so good that he can come out of retirement and be the best in the league. And I'm convinced of it. I've always liked
his injury is a 40.
Unlike my Tom Brady joke, I've always liked Gronk, okay? Brady not so much, but Gronk I've always liked, and I'll stand by Gronk being a 95. He's the best tight end in the game. You can't he's better than Kittle, and I'll stand by that. He's better than Kittle, he's better than Ertz. And now I'm just trolling Paul, to be honest, though. But you can't compare them, Paul. You can't compare their overall ratings because they're different positions. You can't compare a quarterback and a tight end.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think you can. I'm pretty sure you can.
They are a little bit more harsh on quarterbacks than other positions, though.
Yeah,
I kind of
but
agree
why?
with Jake there. I don't know why, but quarterbacks are usually lower rated than other positions, probably
because I think the game
probably because of their non-essential statistics like tackling.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, and I think
blocking.
that they try to value quarterbacks higher than other players in the game, whatever. But
Let me tweak this then. You hate to see it. The MVP should be a 99 every year.
I would agree with that.
The reigning MVP should be a 99.
I think him and
even
Mahomes,
if it's Adrian Peterson,
Even if it's Matt Ryan.
if it's Matt Ryan, yeah,
for
for that year, and then the update comes out in a month, and he's
And
a
he's an
92.
81.
Paul, I totally agree with you. I think Lamar should be a 99 with Mahomes. I think those two should be 99s. I totally agree with you there. I do also think that Gronk being a 95, also sitting out a year, is a little bit much.
He should be a 90. He should be the third tight end
behind Kittle and
behind
He is
Kittle
third.
and Kelsey.
He is third.
They're
Yeah, he is.
both above 95.
Correct.
yeah, he's behind Kittle and
Okay.
Kelsey's
I guess
number
my,
one.
My
I think.
argument crumbles.
Kittle is number one, I believe, and then Kelsey.
Yeah, I know.
But they're about the same.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull it back to you hate to see it. MVP should be a 99. Then.
I'd agree. I would agree.
Jake?
Keep them with football video games. You hate to see it for me. My NCAA football 14 disc was scratched. Not playable.
You hate to see
Which, this is the storyline of my life. I got a red ring of death, and I somehow salvaged my Xbox 360 for the NCAA 14. That's the only reason I still have it. And then my NCAA 14 got scratched. So then I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the used game store. I'm going to find a copy of NCAA football. Maybe not 14, because have you tried to buy that game?
14?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it at GameStop for like $10.
Before the people knew it was canceled?
Probably before. Yeah, a few years ago.
But because the used game market is such a seller's market, and that's the last game of the franchise, they're going to jack that price way up. So then I was like, okay, maybe I won't get 14. Let's see what they got. I found the last copy of NCAA football, but it was NCAA football 12.
Who's on the cover?
Mark Ingram.
That's not a bad
I
game.
don't think I played that.
It's not a bad game. I'm just saying you hate to see it because I wanted 14 or 13, but I got 12.
You got 12. Stuck with
That
it.
being
You got to
said-
get Denard. You
that
just got to
being-
find Denard.
That being said, yeah, NCAA 12, still a really fun game. Still enjoying it. I started the season with the Colorado State Rams. I'm 4-0 right now.
Oh, really? I'm playing with USF. I just got picked up from North Texas.
Nice. What about you, Brandon? You playing NCAA football?
No, I am not.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
playing
just-
FIFA today.
Yeah, I spent $18 on it though, which is more than I wanted
Oh
to.
yeah, that's a little steep
That's the real you hate to see
for
it.
a
$18
9-year-old video game.
on a 9-year-old game, 2011. But I will say, Andrew Luck's in this game, RG3's in this game, Justin Blackman in Ohio. I was like, why is Oklahoma State really good? I was like, oh yeah, it's got Whedon and
That was the
Blackman
year.
and
12 was the year after they
the
were.
year that Iowa State ruined everything.
Yeah, they
Top
were.
5 team.
They were 10-0. Came to Ames and lost.
I'm just
'Cause
saying.
I had a line on tickets that game, and I was like, why would I want to go to that?
You hate to
They're
see
gonna
it.
get crushed. I regretted it
You
forever.
hate to see it. By the way, you hate to see it. Iowa State ruining that football season because them beating Okie State made Alabama win another national championship. So it's Iowa State's.
You know what? I'm gonna say that's not bad at all because I don't think Oklahoma State was on the level of Alabama.
They would have played LSU.
or LSU.
Were they? Yeah.
I'm saying that Alabama's a better team to play LSU.
You
LSU would
you
have beat
hate to
Oklahoma
see
State.
it.
Yeah. Brandon?
I don't have a you hate to see it, but I will bring a you love to see it.
Ooh.
I like this. Let's keep it positive.
No positive tests for the MLS or the NBA since they started the bubble. It's been over a week for both.
You love
Yes.
to see it. You love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me hope.
Seems to be working pretty well.
The bubble systems are
Yep.
working. So now I can't wait to see how the contrasting styles of
Right.
baseball and football work
Right.
or not work.
We will see.
And
Ah.
NHL.
Because the NHL has, Jake probably knows more than me, but they have 2 cities, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Are they both in Canada?
Edmonton and
What-
Vegas, isn't it?
Yeah.
I knew one was in Edmonton, but I couldn't remember where the other one was.
I can't remember the other one, but
Pretty sure it's Edmonton and Vegas.
yeah.
Okay.
And they're getting really close to starting that up and getting.
I heard August 1st or 2nd, something like that.
yeah, August 1st, I'm pretty sure.
And that was talking hockey.
Puck drops here.
Puck drops here.
You love to see it. When this posts, we are 9 days away from basketball.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
You love to see it. I'll be betting on that. So let's jump into Paul's Fab 5.
Play that music.
Love it.
Did you fart? Or was that the chair?
It's the chair. Paul's Fab 5. Me, I'm fabulous. Paul, for hitting this parlay,
Oh, here we go.
$3 into. No, Jake, let me tell you about these 2 parlays I hit today. First one, I had the Wolves.
He tells me like I care.
Wolverhampton over Crystal Palace, Everton over Sheffield, and a tie between Brighton and Newcastle. Hit that, which turned $9 into $39. But the big boy, I had a 5-team pick, $3 into $80. So I am now our official soccer expert.
Oh, God.
I think most of these were from the Italian B League. And I
So it took a lot of skill.
You know, I shout out Pickswise Soccer website. But I hit that parlay, and so what I'm gonna give you today for the Fab 5. Next week, I'm really gonna get into the NBA picks. It's gonna be fun. But this week, here's some parlays to hit for later this week. Take the 3 pick of Arsenal, Man City, and Man U to win this week. That's what is it? Arsenal at 110, Man City at minus 315. It's 3 parlay to plus 243. So you more than double your money on 3 favorites. See, that's how I figured out how to do
That's
this, betting on soccer.
hundreds of episodes.
Figured it out.
Why would I
Finally-
bet on soccer until the rest of the sports are gone, Jake?
It took a global pandemic for Paul to finally go positive.
The
a few
other
times.
parlay I'm going to give you to equal 5 teams here is Atalanta and AC Milan later this week in the Italian league. Take them because Juventus already won this week, and that was the first part of my 3-leg parlay with those guys. But take these 2, and you'll still more than double your money off of 2 of the favorites in the league. So Paul's Fab 5 is figuring out soccer parlays.
Is learning how to cheat the system so you can pick the favorites.
Yes. In the second half, you pick them all with 60 minutes in.
I gotta say, I am surprised you never bet on marble racing. This whole
No,
time.
Lord, no.
Why not?
That's too much.
Real man's game, marble racing.
Marble.
Yeah.
I have a parlay right
what about,
now.
What about you didn't bet on the cornhole thing?
No, I did not.
Why not?
No, I didn't, because I'm betting on sports, not competitions.
Oh, but golf's a sport, but cornhole competitions are not?
Correct.
I think it takes some skill to be good at cornhole.
There's
personally.
no physical act, like...
You're throwing it!
No.
You are throwing it.
There is strategy.
Thank you, Brandon.
There's no ball involved.
Everything's a sport.
I'm watching I got a parlay on an MLS game as we're recording, Philadelphia and Orlando. I hit tie and -2.5, so either a tie at 0 or tie at 1, because both of these teams have already made the next round of the MLS. They're 65 minutes in, 0-0, looking good on the money.
Always pick against Miami. They've yet to win in their entire existence.
Thank you, Miami sports expert Brandon.
Yes, in the MLS.
All right. Life in the bubble. Let's finish this up with some NBA talk, and then let's do our NBA awards this week. So first, if you saw one of our favorite people in sports media, local guy Chris Hassel, made it to NBA and NBA ESPN and is now
CBS.
Is now with CBS Sports.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
After his stint on the mothership. And he's back at CBS. He has a lot more freedom, and he's doing a lot of the little sketch comedy videos that he used to do when he was in Des Moines for Sound Off. Like, he made characters. Like, he had a Husker character and a bunch of other stuff that they would do for just these little skits.
Wasn't
once a
funny.
week.
No, it's good.
And now he's doing it at CBS Sports. And, Jake, will you be able to put in a clip of this video?
Yeah, this is the 30-second clip. I was going to pull it up here. Now, this is, what, almost 3-minute video.
Oh, yeah.
Very funny stuff.
And it's him sitting at his cubicle answering the snitch hotline, which I wish we had a live feed of, like when eagles are being born.
Who was that Big Cat who said on Twitter that we should have a Twitch stream, like a Twitch live stream of just the person in the snitch hotline?
Yes.
Because we do need that. Because I can only imagine how that works. I'm trying to. My computer will cooperate here. We're pulling it up, and so that we're gonna only play about 30 seconds of this. So enjoy, because it's good stuff. It's comedy gold.
Yellow NBA bubble snitch line. Go ahead. You saw J.R. Smith with how much Hennessy? No, I just didn't know it came by the gallon. You saw Kuzma taking a selfie where? Well, he knows he can't be there. Taco's doing bike tours? Huh. How do I get in on that? Wait, someone's deadlifting in their room at 3 a.m.? Someone's running suicides in the hallways? Someone's doing box jumps in the conference room? Give me Jimmy Butler's room number right now, please. All the blue check marks are down? Well, can't you just use your burner?
And that joke ends with, "Oh yeah, like you don't have one."
There was somebody actually called a snitch line on Dwight Howard walking around without a mask.
Did they?
Yeah. So we have that, even though there are no positive tests inside the bubble with NBA personnel.
I was thinking about this. To me, as involved in this, if I were a player, this would be so much fun to me, because it would be like a high school field trip.
It's like AAU.
Yeah, or going overseas and playing in like the Olympics. Where it's like, it's kind of fun because it's a field trip that you get paid to do. I mean, if you're single, if you have a family, you're gonna miss your family, obviously.
It's the 2K neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
real
because they
life.
put up that barber shop.
Yeah, there's a barber shop going in, which they needed, obviously.
Obviously,
These
yeah.
guys, got to keep the flow right.
Gotta have it. But yeah, the fact that they're turning it into the 2K they're turning it into a video game. What a time to be alive, 2020.
And we also have Russell Westbrook's clothing line company has partnered with the NBA to make warm-up T-shirts with slogans that were not approved for the jerseys.
Hashtag free speech.
Yeah. Let's run it back. Fraud of the week, free speech. The approved slogans. Okay, whatever.
What if somebody did want to say, free Hong Kong?
But these say, yeah, it won't be that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
he
These-
won't even touch that. No.
These say things like break the cycle. Am I next?
Dang, am I next?
Yeah,
Wow.
they're a little more
I
pointed.
can't breathe.
Yeah, than what they're putting on the jerseys.
Would somebody have defund the police, I wonder?
No, I don't. I saw the options. I don't believe that was one of them.
Okay.
So we are, 1 week's recording away from bubble basketball, and it's going to be great.
It's going to be interesting to watch because it's going to be in a ballroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be like the, was it in the Bahamas, the basketball tournament that was in the ballroom?
Is it in the ballroom? I just like the Carrier Classic.
Well, let's talk about the one that the Iowa State guy.
Yeah, the one in Bahamas is in. It's definitely not a normal arena.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see them play in a ballroom with
Hopefully it's better lit than
with
that
no
one.
fans, and I still wonder if they're ever gonna actually put players in the stands.
Oh, they will. Oh, there will be players on the sideline watching games, yelling stuff out. You know it.
They have to add that to there. And
So let's close it out with our NBA awards for this season. First one, let's start with Coach of the Year. Who'd like to start with their Coach of the Year pick?
I'm gonna say Frank Vogel for the L.A. Lakers.
Why is that, Jake?
I think the fact that he has has the star power, has LeBron James, has AD, and is able to take a team that, yes, they got filled up in the offseason with better players, but a team that wasn't very good last year, and he managed to make them a legitimate contender in the West, I think says a lot about his ability to coach. So I go with him, personally.
Brandon?
I don't mind the Frank Vogel. I'm going with Nick Nurse again.
Yeah.
He won last year. I think that this year may be more impressive. I don't think anybody expected the Raptors to be anywhere near where they are right now, as probably one of the two favorites to get out of the East, I would say, at this point, without Kawhi, right?
Right.
I mean, I think it's a pretty impressive
That's
job
what
what
makes
Nick
it more
Nurse has
impressive.
done.
Yeah.
And that team is very good and very scary coming into this bubble in the playoffs when it gets started.
Well, the Bucks have the #1 record, so there's an argument for Mike Budenholzer. I understand the argument for Frank Vogel because he hasn't been fired. But
Well, come on. I mean, he made the Lakers a legitimate contender. I mean, yes, they got
LeBron made the Lakers.
Yeah, but they had LeBron the year before, and they weren't very
Not
good.
really. He was hurt.
Well, he did sit out most of that season. But hey, and yeah, they got AD. I get that.
Yeah,
but
they added Anthony Davis. But I'm also going to go with Nick Nurse. And Brandon, I think you're exactly right that it's more impressive this year. There's no championship hangover. There's no Kawhi. He's using the tools that he has to the best of their abilities, to the point where they are, almost favorited as like the veteran team of the East,
Right.
which speaks a lot to his coaching ability. Carroll, Iowa, shout out. Nick Nurse, you and I, Grandview.
Did he coach the Iowa Energy as well?
Yeah.
I think Nick Nurse is a very compelling.
He's like the Kurt
Argument.
Warner of basketball. All right, we have our Rookie of the Year.
I feel like this is unanimous.
This one, it should be unanimous in the NBA as well. Ja Morant. What a year. Without Zion, playing for most of it, this is a pretty easy decision.
Had Zion played and not been hurt, I probably would have picked him. But yeah, come on, we're all in agreement here. It's all
Yeah,
true.
I have Ja. I have on my little sheet here.
Jay
Ja
Morant?
wins. Zion is better.
I love the distinction.
Hey,
There's
man.
two different categories. If there was a sophomore of the year, Zion would win.
Oh, yeah. Which kind of paves the way for 2021 Most Improved
Right.
Zion. All right, Jake, how about your your sixth man? Let's go to sixth man.
My sixth man, I want to go with Montrezl Harrell. Unfortunately, he left the bubble because of
Pressing family matters.
personal issues. Yeah, which is unfortunate for him. But
AKA caught the Rona. No,
really?
No.
I think it's probably something real serious if he had to leave. I had his stats, but then I lost them. But actually, they're right here. Good thing I have a computer in front of me. Yeah, I just think his stats have been really incredible, and it's helped boost that team and keep them in the situation where they're in the bubble. So I got to go with Montrez. I don't have the stats. I was going to pull them up and bring my receipts, but I don't have my
How about
receipts.
you, Brandon?
I had Montrezl Harrell, but because Jake picked him, I'm going to go with Dennis Schroeder from Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City deserves a little bit of love because I don't think anybody expected them to.
Yeah.
They all thought that they were rebuilding with this team, and they've
That
shown
Chris
that,
Paul wouldn't care,
Yeah,
and they were
and
just
they
going
all-
to treat it like a 9-to-5
right,
this
and
year.
they showed that they're pretty legitimate team that could give somebody a scare in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. So I'm going to give some love to Oklahoma City and give it to Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I would say that the popular pick, the veteran pick, the Drake song here is Lou Will, a sixth man god, a legend of sixth men.
Right.
Lou Will, in the parts of history that will include, Jamal Crawford, Manu Ginobili, the sixth men Hall of Fame. But I think that you guys already said the two most impressive players for Sixth Man of the Year for this year. It's Schroeder for letting CP3 come in and be like, oh, I guess this isn't going to be my team, because since he left Atlanta, even
he keeps
before
trying
that,
to find a starting job.
You're right.
He never gets it.
It's the Bledsoe mentality. Kind of almost like a Brandon Knight kind of did this too, where it's like, I really believe I am good enough to run a team, and I don't care what city it is. I want to run a team. And he really took a back seat with that attitude this year. And so that's why I would have given it to him. But I also really like and agree with Montrezl Harrell, like you said, Jake, because having a bench big man with that intensity that can give you those numbers is such an asset.
I love Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's averaging, I pulled it up now, 18.6 per a game points. And, yeah, to have him come in there and be that guy that
I would love to see
for
his
the Clippers,
points off of offensive rebounds.
That's what makes the Clippers so scary.
7.1
is Montrezl
rebounds,
Harrell, in my opinion.
is his average.
Yeah, I like that. We're all in agreement for a lot of these so far. So most improved, I can start for that. My most improved for this year, I'm going with Devontae Graham.
Oh.
Out of Charlotte. Now, not quite the notoriety as some other most improved here. I have some educated guesses on what you guys might say. But in his second year in the league, he went from starting 3 games to 53 games. Granted, it's for Charlotte. They lost Kemba, so they need a scoring void. His rookie year, he averaged 4.7 points per game. This year, he averaged 18.2 points per game. Show me somebody that had just raw points improvement, who had that level. His assists went from 2.6 to 7.5. He just really grew into him, and I watched him a lot at Kansas through the years. Didn't really see him project. I saw him as another really good Kansas guard that was going to have a G League and overseas career, but he really blossomed this year with the absence of a dominant backcourt mate.
Right, I think he seems to have taken it over even more than Terry Rozier. He seems to be playing.
Yeah, Rozier always thinks he's going to be the man.
Rozier was supposed to be the guy there, right? I mean, they paid him all that money.
And Devontae Graham just pulled a Russell Wilson on the Matt Flynn that is Terry Rozier. Now, how about you guys? Most improved player?
I'm going to use a pun for mine, but I'm going to say Brandon Ingram because he got to really spread his wings when he joined the Pelicans.
Did you pick him for that line?
Yeah, kinda.
That definitely was the deciding factor.
That definitely was the one, because it was between him and Devontae. But Ingram, I mean, just looking at what he's been able to do with the Pelicans and his role, because I thought he would have been just fine with LeBron and Anthony Davis in LA, but to see how he's progressed with the Pelicans, I mean, if you look at just points, he's averaging 24.3 points a game versus 18.3 when he's with the Lakers. I mean, his field goal percentage has kind of dipped a little bit.
That comes with volume.
Yeah, the volume is definitely.
But I mean, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, he's still head and shoulders above where he was with the Lakers. So I got to go with Brandon Ingram on that one.
A side note on that, could we say at this point that it should be a regret of the Lakers to keep Kuzma instead of Ball? I get that the family thing's a headache, but who do they need right now? A big athletic defensive guard. That is really who they could use right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anybody would have wanted Kuzma and Brandon Ingram though.
Yeah,
they're pretty much the same player.
But they have such a logjam at forward right now, keeping Kuzma, LeBron, and AD.
Right, but so would New Orleans.
Yeah.
So,
Brandon, your most improved player.
My most improved player, I have no arguments for Brandon Ingram. I looked at Devontae Graham. I think if you're going off sheer numbers, Devontae Graham might be
the volume change is staggering.
The big jump, especially
3 to 53.
From points, from going from 4 points and playing like 10 minutes a night to playing almost 30 and averaging 20 is impressive.
Elbowing your way into the starting role.
It's impressive, but I'm going with Bam Adebayo. I have no problem with Brandon Ingram. I have Bam Adebayo.
You say that he
was going to do this
because they got. I mean, both Adebayo and Ingram are first-time All-Stars. Ingram was the guy in New Orleans for 3/4 of the season until Zion showed up.
Yeah.
You know, he was the best player on that team. And I have Bam because not only is he a great offense, you know, he basically plays point guard for that team. He plays a very similar role to what you see Nikola Jokic playing over in Denver.
Oh, skinny Jokic looks very scary right now, by the way, in the bubble.
Yeah, and I'm sure he does. I'm kind of excited to see what Jokic can do. And Bam's defense, he definitely, I think that he has a chance to win one or if not multiple Defensive Player of the Years in the next few years. I mean, the guy this season, if you look at his stats, he's never allowed somebody to score 20 points on him. And he's guarded Giannis as the primary guy twice.
What would you say is his ceiling? Because I see him as almost, his top potential is like a more defensive Blake Griffin. If he can really pull together the offensive game. Because like you said, you already see him facilitating and handling the ball at a better level.
Right.
So I think that he could be like a Blake level play around this guy on offense.
He's an incredible passer.
His bounce doesn't stop.
He's incredible with just his energy and his defense is where he's never going to be the best player on the team, but obviously adding Jimmy Butler was huge for Miami, but Bam Adebayo's improvement has made Miami from a team that didn't make the playoffs last year to one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and he's a big reason why.
Mm-hmm. A team that will cause second round headaches.
Right.
Yes.
For especially if they take Milwaukee, because like I said, Miami's undefeated against Milwaukee this year, and Bam is a huge reason why because of his great
I'd like
defense.
To see that pathway.
Right.
To see how accessible that is as a matchup. Before we move on to the next category, we have two left, but I will say, like we mentioned, I saw a video today of Nikola Jokic doing pick and roll with Bol. That was a scary sight. That was a really scary sight because he threw it over his head to Bol, and I'm like, oh man, he's gonna like fade away. He's so far from the rim, and he just throws it down into the rim because he has arms that are 8 feet long. It was frightening. Okay, Defensive Player of the Year, Jake.
I mean, I feel like we might be unanimous on this one, but I'm gonna go with Giannis. I mean, it's Giannis. What else do I?
Yeah, we're gonna be landing the plane with these last two awards.
Yeah.
I feel like Brandon.
Well,
Yeah. See, I had a list of guys who I saw were in contention because I wasn't. This one is definitely the one where I'm not 100% sure.
yeah.
Giannis is
It's
on the
hard.
list. Giannis is on the list. Anthony Davis is
I
on
was
the
gonna
list.
say you could make an argument for
Rudy Gobert is on the list, who's the 2-time reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Bam Adebayo was on the list, and Pat Beverly.
Rudy gets nothing. He caused all these problems. He
No-
caused the bubble. Rudy gets nothing.
no
Right.
love for Marcus Smart out here working every night.
Well, see, that's Pat
Over
Beverly is
Giannis.
on this list, but I don't know that
That's
he has
like
a
a
chance.
reputation thing
Exactly.
at this point.
But for the guys that play on the wings, it's just they don't get the stats to really have a chance at this award.
Right.
They don't get
Defensive player
rebounds.
Has
They don't-
turned into a block.
They don't get rebounds.
Thing.
They don't get,
Yeah.
they might get steals, but even getting steals is not easy. It's easier for a big man to get steals because they got longer arms. So I'm
Gotta
going.
watch that reach in.
I'm going with Giannis as well because I think he should have won last year, and he's having just as good a season this year. It's not quite as good as his defensive performance was last year, but I think he should have won last year, so I'm going to give it to him this year.
I think there's a legitimate argument for Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. The difference between Giannis is averaging almost 14 boards, but 1 block and 1 steal per game. Davis is averaging 9.5 rebounds, but 2.5 blocks and a steal and a half, which is his blocks and steals are obviously way up, but his rebounding is where
because
the shift is.
he's also elbowing with the top rebounder of the other team at all times. And I think
Yeah.
that's an aspect that we're not able to value correctly is the difference in who you're guarding based on your position. Like I don't see Defensive Player of the Year really take into account aspects like unforced offensive turnovers, like that Beverly and Marcus Smart and guys like that excel. We see
Right. And that's where-
rebounding, blocks, turnovers per possession.
And that's where I went in today. I did some because this is the one I researched a lot more heavily because I didn't have a definitive answer. And I went through win share. I went into some more advanced stats, and I went into defensive win share to kind of compare, see what Pat Beverly, especially because I know Pat Beverly is a very good defender, and is one of the most scary perimeter defenders in the league, outside of maybe
He's a
Paul
dog,
George. Outside of maybe Paul George, but his win shares are like 2 compared to Giannis's 5. And so even though they are very good defenders,
Well,
they're just not putting up. They're not
right.
the same numbers. They're not as effective because you're one guy. Giannis is guarding 4 or 5 guys on each possession because he's in the middle.
You're right, but then when you get into an advanced stat like that, you have to go in. Then it just opens up a bigger wormhole of things like, well, Giannis's team has more wins on the season. He's playing more minutes, so his advanced stats are gonna probably be a little more accented because of the emphasis on him by his team. The most successful team this year.
No, okay. So if we look, Rudy Gobert.
I also voted for Giannis. So
Rudy Gobert's
Pretty
win
unanimous.
shares are defensive win shares are like 4 as well, compared to Beverly's again like 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and those are more comparable in terms of record, right? Or Boston and Utah. I don't know what Marcus Smart's are. I didn't look at Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
because he wasn't on my list.
Let's be honest here. If out of Rudy Gobert, Giannis, and Pat Beverly, if there's one guy that I think I have a chance of scoring on, it's Rudy Gobert. I'm not hitting a shot over Giannis or Pat Beverly, but maybe I can hit a 3 on Rudy Gobert. So I think that things like that we've kind of lost. Like if Jordan was playing now, he got Defensive Player of the Year awards that I don't think he would get these days because we don't value the eye test of defense where the guards can excel. That doesn't go into this anymore. But, long way around it. We all picked Giannis, and it's a hard one to judge.
Yeah.
All right, last one, MVP. I think we're going back to back.
Come on. Yeah.
Giannis.
He's better this year than he was last year.
I'd agree. It's Giannis for the MVP.
You guys are crazy.
Jake?
You guys are crazy.
What are you doing?
The good LBJ, LeBron James.
Who's the bad LBJ?
The president.
Lyndon?
I mean,
That's a stance for another podcast.
it's more so Vietnam than anything. But
All right, bring it back.
back to sports. But LeBron James, come on, man.
He had a great season, but
Yeah.
he is not doing the things that Giannis is doing up and down the court both ways, night in, night out.
Sure.
I think you can see a difference in their advanced stats as well.
But I'm just saying, it's LeBron James. I got to go with LeBron because of what he's been able to do with AD and what he's been able to do with this team and making the Lakers, putting them in a legitimate shot to win the West and the whole shebang. I got to go with LBJ, man. LeBron James, the king.
I have no arguments for you.
If
he wins, I'm not going to complain.
he wins, in my opinion,
It'd be the first time that he's actually won when he should have.
He'll never have the amount of MVPs he should have.
Right.
I think we're at that point of LeBron's career where we can say the guy will never have the amount of regular season MVPs he should
being
have.
compared to himself, which is not fair.
Right.
LeBron, he's been the king of the mountain for how many years now?
I would say
20?
he's been the
Almost?
greatest player in the league since 2009 was kind of 2010, the end of the Kobe dominance era when he got his 2 titles.
He went to Miami. And
Right, yeah, and then he goes
when was
to
his
Miami.
first MVP? 09? Right?
I think so.
Because he won 1 and then D Rose
Also,
won
it says a lot about
He
him.
won before Rose. Rose won in
10 or was it 11?
Rose won the 11 MVP.
Okay.
People tend to forget he also, look how good he was where he carried that terrible Cavaliers team. And what was it?
2 different terrible.
Yeah, well, 07, I think.
Those 7
and then,
is historically bad, though.
yeah, and he carried them. But we're not talking about legacy. I think Giannis will probably win MVP, and I think he very well should. I think Giannis is having a phenomenal season.
And somebody in Houston's going to get even more butthurt.
But personally, I gotta go. I think the reason I want to go with LeBron is just the way that he's played this year and this determination he seems to have had with the Lakers. I'm gonna take LeBron.
And, like we say, hard to have arguments for that. All right, next week we will be here with live sports. It's so good to say that. We've made it through, at least for now, until some of them get canceled. Thank you, guys.
Sorry again, bear with us. I fixed one thing and then another thing broke, as is life. So we're working it out. We're gonna try and figure out a way to keep doing the show for you. And I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. What are you doing?
I'm
Did you win a bet over there?
I'm checking my bets. Yeah,
You did a very white man dance.
I had the under 2.5 and tie parlay on the
I don't
Philadelphia
care
Orlando,
about
and they just I checked it. It's 1-1 in the 87th minute.
I don't care. I don't care. By the way, parlay, underrated word. Fun word.
Parlay.
Parlay.
Yeah, takes me back.
I'm not
to
gonna.
Pirates of the
I'm not gonna
Caribbean.
join Parlor though, because instead of tweets, it's parlays.
Okay.
Not gonna get me on Parlor.
All
buddy.
right.
Mostly because I don't want another social media.
What about
to
the
run.
parquet?
Parkour.
Parkour.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. And this is why we need sports back. So
Exactly. 9 days.
next week, we'll have it for you. Thank you guys for listening. Check us out on all of the social medias that we have at Loud Sports Pod on Twitter, Loud Sports Podcast on Facebook. For Brandon Plecker and Jake Williams, I'm Paul Rubidoux. This is the Loud Sports Podcast.